Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. My name's Stuart McKenzie, and I'm a founder of Ria Keto, which is a CBD oil extraction company. But also together with my partner Sergiy, we have a company, Hempire, that's a processing company, an hemp insulation building company. We're going to talk a couple of things. We'll talk about the general uses of hemp and hemp processing. We see a lot of CBD around the exhibition, but very little hemp. So we want to address the balance of that and start talking about hemp itself and the unique properties of it and what we're doing as a company to take advantage of this wonderful plant. So we know that hemp is the oldest cultivated and useful plant in the world, over 7,000 BC. It's the most useful plant in the world, and it's got over 20,000 known uses. And we can use 100% of the plant, and it's created now the fastest growing business around the world today. Just to get through a little bit of history for the people that don't know, but you found hemp, as I said, for over 9,000 years that we've been using hemp for fabrics in Turkey, or for food, China, or ropes, medicines, paper products. We've been using the plant for a long time, and most recently, even people like King Henry VIII was fining farmers for not growing hemp, as he wanted to build the English fleet and use the ropes and the sails. You'll see here hemp being farmed on the back of a $10 bill. So yeah, it was only since 1937, when the Marijuana Act came out, that it crushed the industry of hemp. Only in 2003 did we see it come back, when it's first grown back in Colorado, and that started the movement around the world to reintroduce hemp and cannabis. These are some of the statistics we see on hemp. Obviously, the CBD is quite, but industrial applications is still a huge business, and it's growing very fast. You'll see here the different applications of food, supplements, textiles, etc. I'm sure many of you know this already, and it's created almost a $2 billion industry at the moment in the US. So we know it's good for medicinal use, for flowers, for patches, pills, paste. That's most of the people around here with their CBD products. However, we also can do animal bedding, wood particle boards, insulation construction material, which we'll show you a little bit later what we can do with the construction insulation business. And of course, if you want to live in a cannabis house, you need to make sure you light it up, and we'll see what happens when we do that. So yeah, we want to really use 100% of the plant. Right now what's happening is people are farming for hemp, they're cutting the stalks, the leaves, and the rest of the plant's just falling in the ground doing nothing. There's a lot of ways we can use this, and there's more and more technology coming out every day just now. We've just, for the last 18 months, we've spent about 150,000 euros on a report to make carbon for supercapacitor batteries using hemp. The results after the longevity test, which is a 3-month test over a 16-month research period, showed that it was 30% more efficient and 20% less cost than the coconut shells currently being used to do carbon. So now we're taking this into the next stage, which is another €2 million to actually make a finished product. But we've actually proven that it's a fantastic carbon. We of course know the food industry. The food industry is a $1 billion industry, and there's so many ways now. We see hemp as almost the perfect protein. It's a plant-based protein. It's getting away from the dairy-based proteins, and we're seeing it now, of course, in all different beers, wines, smoothies, pestos, ice creams. Almost every day, every week we see now new brands coming out under the food industry. Fiber, of course, we take the fiber off the herds. The clothing industry, Levi's are now coming out with some hemp textiles. Actually, we've got a Beyond CBD booth just down the back here. Maybe you've seen it, and you can see all the different textiles that we're doing with the fibers. We see it in the back of, we know, of course, it's getting used for BMW cars, I think Porsche right now. Obviously, bedding, construction industry. There's a mountain of areas, and I do suggest maybe after at some point to go to the Beyond CBD stand and see the different uses and start to feel the product and see what we're doing there. I'll pass on to my colleague Sergiy. He's going to specifically talk about the construction industry. I don't think anybody in Europe's done more hemp construction than Sergiy. And we're going to talk a little bit about the really unique values of why you should consider using hemp in a construction project. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart. How you all doing, guys? So, I want to talk to you a little bit about, construction industry is one of the most corrupted industries in the world. They've enforced certain materials that are toxic to the environment and toxic to the society as a whole, and we've just been consuming things over the course of the last century, and there is such a parameter called as an overshoot day. That's when the planet Earth stops producing the bioresources that we consume as a human being. So as you can see in the right upper corner, you have like a sign that we need 1.7 of planets to satisfy all our needs today. So starting on August 1st, we live in credit line, And of course, construction industry is one of the biggest, it is the biggest polluter with a massive carbon emissions on the planet. About 30% of all carbon emissions come from construction industry. And I don't know if you ever build a house for yourself or you've done a renovation, how much waste comes from the construction, or any type of project that you're gonna have to dump to the landfill, and most of these things are non-recyclable. And it's a massive impact on the planet. So those are the boxes that we live in Ukraine right now in 2019. It's quite devastating. They're really killing people using this type of this construction methods. This is the photographs from US projects, right? So it's all kind of moldy stuff behind the walls that we don't see, that's killing our children and ourselves, right? But we can all live in harmony with nature using biodegradable, carbon negative materials. And of course, at the moment, we have low quality materials that produce all kinds of health issues. I know in US specifically, we have many children with respiratory diseases that are suffering, and we don't know why they're suffering. And it's simply because the traditional insulation materials, construction materials, and materials used inside the houses, they emit in all kinds of toxic matter that are really hard to trace, And of course, massive carbon emissions, as I said. It's funny enough that you build a house and about in 30, 40 years, it loses its quality and you have to renovate it. Just about when the mortgages, payments are paid out, you need to reintroduce new materials with the same toxicity, putting them back inside your house and living for another 30, 40 years, So the answer to all of these problems is, of course, carbon negative hemp houses, right? I come from a construction background, so I've been on the other side of the fence and I've seen it all, guys. Before, I have to say, I used to be part of the problem. I never questioned the effectiveness of the materials where they come from, their source, and how they're going to be recycled after afterwards. So basically, what the hempcrete material looks like, it's basically a hemp stem. After you've taken all that CBD flower from the top, you end up with a hemp stalk, and basically that's what it looks like in the cross section. So you have on the outer side of it, you have a fiber, and on the inside you have a hollow inner core. And during the harvesting, as you can see, it's being left out in the field for about 3-4 weeks, because inside the hemp stalk there is a lot of natural glues that are binding fiber to the inner core of the plant. So in order to make the processing easier, they leave it in the fields for another 3-4 months. That's just how our ancestors used to do it, over centuries ago. Then this biomass gets delivered to the hemp processing facility, decortication facility. That's when they are separating fiber from the herds. That's how it looks like on the slide. It's quite a simple method, but it requires sufficient amount of machinery to process it. So what we are left with is basically chopped up inner core particle of the plant, where the fiber is going towards textiles, automotive industry, bioplastics. We're left with this sort of like a wood chips, I would say, right? So what we have done, we have developed a binder, an all-natural binder. There are different binders on the market. Our binder we have developed using only hydrated lime. There is no cement. There is no toxic components. And you have to understand one thing about the lime. Once it is sourced from the quarry, it's being delivered into the kilns where they burn it, and under certain high temperatures, of course. And as you can see, the cycle looks like, once you burn it, it becomes a quick lime. But once you start adding water, it's turned into a calcium hydroxide, basically a hydrated type of lime. As you continue to add water, it goes back into its natural state of limestone. So what we do, basically, we take our binder, lime-based binder, we take this wood chips, we take the water, we mix it all up, and we bring the lime back into its natural state of calcium carbonate. By sequestering the carbon dioxide, it turns into just limestone. So using these 3 components, you can insulate any type of surface. You can insulate the roofs, the walls, the floors, and I'll show you on the images right now. So it completely can replace the drywall, the OSB paneling, the traditional insulation materials, and all the membranes with one single biodegradable material. So ideally, you can use it on the framing systems, on the timber systems. You can use it on the existing stone houses, brick walls. We have done numerous projects where we've been insulating reinforced concrete, stone, timber, you name it. Basically, what you have to do once you set up your structure that would carry the load, you just have to set up a different types of cladding, a framework, as you want to call it, right, around your timber frame. And then simply you just tie up these boards to a timber frame, and it can be an OSB, it can be a plywood. It's quite simple. You just need to create some type of shattering system. There is like already a complex type of frameworks where you have a plastic ones, sophisticated ones, but in the end it's fairly straightforward. There are different types of hempcrete that can be used, right? So there are companies that produce, for example, bricks, ready-made bricks. You can order them, deliver to the site. You need some type of course, binding agents to put them together, and you can just build up your walls. There are load-bearing bricks, there are non-load-bearing bricks, so there is all kinds of things. Bricks with different densities. Then there is, of course, spraying machinery, right? It's a spraying pump that can apply hempcrete projected directly to the wall, onto your wall system. You need some type of back wall in order to spray this to spray this product. It's a quiet, fast, and effective process. And then there is in situ casting, when you put your shattering and you go manually mix the material and then compact it and remove the shattering. Then of course there is prefabricated panels produced directly on the in the production facilities where you have it in controlled environment. For example, where we insulating and building houses, we have to stop over the winter time because it's quite cold. So having this type of facility would enable us to be building up these wall panels on a daily basis without stopping for the cold season. So these prefab panels, they get delivered on site and installed like a Lego. So it's quite simple and it's fairly straightforward. So basically, as I said, Hempcrete basically it is a combination of hemp herds biomass, a lime-based binder, and water mixed directly on site by, like sometimes we have crews which we educate within an hours we can leave the job site. It's fairly simple to figure out how to mix it and how to apply it. Areas of applications are numerous. Walls, roofs, floors of new and existing buildings, interstitial space in between the floors. It's great as a sound insulation material. So you can use it also in the commercial projects. Kindergarten, schools, I believe, should be using all this material. So basically you have your formwork, you have your Hempcrete, you just compact it, you go in layers of 10 centimeters, and that's it. After you apply the material, you take off your shattering, and this biodegradable material cures by absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. So it turns into stone by sequestering carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. It's fascinating, So whenever energy leaders tells us that we need to lower carbon emissions, produce carbon neutral materials, here you see a carbon negative material. So basically, you instantly remove the formwork and you have a beautiful textured material which you can already render or finish it with a lime-based binder or some type of natural binding agents. So, as I said before, drying by capturing CO2. So you can insulate any type of structures, domes, house on wheels. You can make, countertops, all with one single material. All you have to do is just play around with the formulations. It will depend on the density of what type of insulation you really need, whether it's a roof or the walls, things of that nature. So what we have here is like we have developed our binder. We mix it up with the hemp herds and water. You have your framing system, and that's how the house starts looking like after we apply the insulation. That's how the house looks like after it captured all the carbon and turned into stone. And then you just have to apply a finishing coat, and that's all. So, in England, I think it's ideal solution in a very extremely humid climate. I know there are a couple of companies already operating in UK. They're quite successful and quite busy, and I'm really happy for them. They're all our friends. So it's a fairly simple solution. Also, there are different renders that you can create with this type of materials, So if you want to, some of our clients are very paranoid and they say, we want nothing, no toxic components inside our walls. So all you have is a timber, Hempcrete, and lime-based binders involving, again, hemp fiber and herds. So I'll be just showing you different types of projects that we have completed, just showcasing the capabilities of this wonderful material. So basically, as you can see, the roofs and the roofs on the floor and the walls of this house has been done has been insulated by our product. And then in the end, you can see these happy clients like this sitting inside their houses, being proud that they used only natural materials and they feel quite comfortable. So stone houses, for example, you have a bunch of stone houses in UK where it's quite cold, wet and humid on a lonely November night. If you insulate with Hempcrete, this type of structures, you all of a sudden start feeling really, start feeling very comforting and cozy. So any type of building, new or existing, you can turn it into a very comfortable space, using biodegradable materials. So, you can erect modern buildings. You can create domes. You can insulate them inside. We can take on the projects at a different stage. Like we have seen it all basically, right? I just wanna. Oh, this is what I wanted to show you. We have a 4-year-old sample sitting outside in Ukraine with no protection, no cover, fully exposed to rain. Snow sits on it for like probably 4 months out of 12, and nothing happens to it. If you would live in such conditions, any traditional insulation materials like fiberglass, rock wool type of materials, you know what would happen to it, right? So it just shows you that a biodegradable, vapor permeable material can sustain this type of stress, and then it dry up. So here is an example of insulation concrete building. Any builder or architect will tell you cannot insulate buildings from inside, and we have done it. And this wall right now, hard as a stone, even though it was supposed to be rotten at the moment. So now you have a very nice, cozy yoga studio. Those are the dome houses that we have done. And this is quite an energy efficient material because there is no thermal bridging. If you look at the traditional insulation materials, you have to apply them, in a matter of mats or something, so you're gonna have little spots where they don't bind together. This is imagine a monolithic shape stone surrounding your house with quite high energy efficient capabilities. So you can be very creative. For example, you cannot build and do this type of interior in a square box, so with a drywall or OSB. What else I wanted to show you? Well, France, where there's a lot of snow. It's quite a beautiful house. House on wheels, you name it. We've done a little project like this in US. So what I wanted to tell you is very important thing is, of course, the advantages. Like you can use biodegradable materials all you want, but it is extremely energy efficient. So this slide just showcases the relative humidity outside the house, represented by a green line. You can see throughout 11 days they were measuring, and it was jumping from 30 to 90%. And the blue line is what the relative humidity is inside the house, inside the Hempcrete house. So it's quite amazing how it can level off these fluctuations without turning your AC, without turning your smart house applications. The nature does it automatically. So the same happens with temperature. The temperature jumps up and down throughout the day, of course, right? Lowers during the night, goes up during the day. And then what you have is, again, you can see that orange line shows how it negates all these fluctuations. And this directly reflects on your wallet. You have to heat up your house less, you have to cool it down less, and it happens due to this amazing phenomenon. As you can see, this is the hemp herd under microscope. So it is an extremely porous material. And that's why it's so effective as a thermal insulation. We have left this house exposed in winter time in one of the coldest places in Poland, and nothing happened to it. It didn't crack. We didn't even apply a finish to it. It was sitting like this in the middle of the winter. As the temperature was jumping up and down, relative humidity was jumping up and down, it should have been cracking and going to bits and pieces, but it stayed intact. We came back in the springtime and we finished the render. Basically, it has great acoustic capabilities. It's not afraid of moisture. It's not afraid of fire. I wanted to show you a fire Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So as you can see, go on, turn this the other side. So as you can see, it's not afraid of fire at all. So I can be holding this thing for like 10 minutes and nothing's gonna happen to it. So we heard about the tragedy, what happened into that building in London. And when people say, oh, we need non-flammable materials, here you are, it's a non-flammable material, you know? And it's not toxic, so people will not be suffocating if there is gonna be a fire. So what this material does, it protects the structural elements because it's a non-load bearing material, it acts as an insulation. So you will not have a problem in the building collapsing because it's a protection coverage, as you can see, right? It repels pests and rodents. They don't like lime, so you'll never see them inside the house. So when people say, oh, what about, you know, in the areas with the high seismic activities? And then we were bringing this house on wheels 3 hours after we applied the material. So it was all wet and it didn't fall apart. And one of the most important slides I wanted to show you, we all went to school and I used to hate chemistry, but life forced me back to learn it. As you can see, this is a pH scale starting from 0, highly acidic, and 14 is highly alkaline. As you can see at 5.8, cancer cells begin to form. So cancer usually forms in an acidic environment. And what we use a highly alkaline lime. Hydrated lime is basically limestone with a pH of 12.4. So we are completely eliminating a chance of type of mold appearing in your walls. We know it's a huge issue in UK or in the high humid climates like Florida, for example, and Caribbean.
Okay, second.
So once you have this type of materials, you know, you have no problem with the mold issue. And of course, the most important thing is it's a carbon negative material. So with a carbon negative footprint. So the more you build, the more Hempcrete houses you build, the more you're taking care of your environment. So basically, that's what I wanted to show you. We have some achievements, but I don't want to go into that. So my question is, do you want to live in a hemp house? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. So I hope we managed to show you a little bit of the versatility of the plant. I know many of you do, but that's part of what we're trying to do is a lot of the CBD businesses out there, but I believe the real business in this industry is the industrial applications of hemp and the thousands of uses out there. Thank you.